Hello, my name is the legendary Zoltan, and it's time for the best JRPG podcast ever, Turn-Based Memories, Episode 6. For this episode, I have chosen a nice classic SNES action RPG for my co-host Mel to play. It's Secret of Mana, and as the format of this show dictates, this is a game that I have played and Mel has not. There are plenty of things to like about this game, and some things that might make you go insane. Overall, I find the experience to be a net positive one. Will Mel think so too? Will he be able to enjoy a lighthearted, linear romp through bright and sunny RPG fields? Or will he hate me forever for assigning him more arcane nonsense to play and declare this to be our final episode? We'll find out on this episode of Turn-Based Memories. As soon as you start Secret of Mana, the musician Hiroki Kikuta starts trying to make an impression on you by putting whale songs with the Squaresoft logo. Not a bad move considering that nobody had done that before, and nobody has done it since. Not that I've heard of anyway. And then the nice art comes up with detailed sprites, dramatic music, and a touchy-feely backstory that gets me all hyped to play this game. I hope Mel felt the same way. I hope that he's not a barbarian who presses a start button before he can watch the demo. When the game starts for real, you have to name your character. I don't think there are any hints in the English version as to what the default name is supposed to be. But in the Japanese version, his name is Randy. Not as cool as Erdrick from Dragon Quest, but I'd say it's at least as cool as Sir Jim from Hydlide. Now we see some kids playing somewhere that the grown-ups told them not to because it's just a fallen tree trunk that connects two cliffs in front of a raging waterfall. And right at the moment that the kids were like, I don't know what my parents were talking about, this isn't scary, Randy falls to his death. Stupid mofo dies at the age of 16. Of course, he doesn't actually die because his fall gets broken by his ass. Thank God for that. Then he finds a sword in the middle of nowhere. Now, the art and music thus far have been top of the line for their time. But the sound when Randy pulls the sword sounds so freaking digital and high definition and ahead of its time that I could believe it gets used in PS3 games. That sound is a mind blow to me. After Randy pulls the sword, there are suddenly monsters swarming his village from all sides. So now we can talk about the combat system. It's an action RPG, so we can just walk around the environment and whack some bunnies with our sword. By the way, every time you land a critical hit on a bunny, a little message window appears that says, Rabbi gets whacked. Hilarious! The first thing Mel is going to have to figure out is that every time you attack, you have to wait for your stamina to recharge all the way back up to 100%, or you'll do 1 damage the next time you attack. He's a smart guy, I'm sure he figured it out. The second thing to learn is when you cannot hit them. You can hit them when they're up, and you can hit them while they're down, but you cannot hit them when they are stunned while standing, or while they're spinning around to attack you. That one's a little harder to catch, but I'm sure Mel got it. No problem at all, right? When you get back home, you have your first boss fight. This is where people find out that magic is absolutely unavoidable. If the enemy casts it, you are going to get hit by it. We also get a taste of our first status effect during this battle, and it is amazing. Poison? No. Confusion? No. How about getting knocked the fuck out, man? The boss has a wind blade attack that is unavoidable. If you can't deflect it with your evade stat, you get knocked unconscious, and guess what happens while you're unconscious? He walks over and starts mercilessly tearing you up with his mantis claws while you're frantically mashing buttons in futility in hopes that you'll be able to wake up and eat some candy to restore your hit points. It's amazing. I bet that Mel died right there. That's the whole introduction of the game, and Mel has learned some hard lessons. Now, what other systems are there to mention? There's the shopping, weapon upgrading, magic, level up systems, and the travel systems. Oh, and the ring menu. I think we all know that Mel is gonna hate the shopping because it doesn't tell you if the things are better than what you are wearing. But they're always a lot more expensive than the previous gear, so that should have been enough of a hint. The weapon system I liked because it rewards exploration. Until you get to that one point in the game where it just upgrades all your weapons to the maximum level for you. I think Mel will be indifferent to that though. The magic levels up as you use it. Nothing special about that, except that you have to spam spells over and over to max them out. I don't like that, but I think Mel will be indifferent to that too. The level up system, or the grind, as I like to call it, makes me kind of angry. Because after the beginning of the game, your level doesn't matter nearly as much as your equipment. And there's nothing creative going on in the equipment department. You either buy the newest stuff and win, or you don't and die. The cannon travel system was freaking awesome. That was a fun idea. Later you get a dragon that you can call any time to pick you up and just go flying. It's got great flying music, a great animation, and it's a freaking dragon that you're riding. Too bad it's just a pain to navigate anywhere. The world map borderlines on pointless, so you just have no idea where to go other than in the direction that the last story cutscene told you to go. I don't like the flying. All that's left is the ring menu, and I suspect that it will be a little too many button presses for Mel's liking. I liked it because it moved quickly. Very nice, smooth, 60 frames per second. I loved it. I assigned this game to Mel because 1, it's famous, and 2, I have fond memories of playing it co-op back in the day. So I was hoping that Mel would find it a bright and light-hearted romp of a game. On this playthrough of the game, however, I was having the best time in the world until the grind got replaced with the equipment progression, the bosses all started to feel the same, and I got the ability to freely explore a very inconvenient world. Basically, I feel like the game wears out its welcome. What did you think, Mel?
Let me take you, dear listeners, on a journey of Mel's adventures through the secret of mana. We begin in the depths of despair. My goodness, whatever went wrong, I hear you shout. Secret of Mana is a classic. Well, I wasn't so convinced. In my first couple of hours, I truly did not like the combat, and I was flummoxed by the menu system, and, well, you know me by now, right? The shopping menus were horrendous. I began wondering how much I should endure before giving in and telling my friend Zoltan, "Hey, Zoltan, I think this episode is a no-go." I thought about writing that email, and as I pressed on, as the boss fight seemed to go from butt-fuck difficult to something approaching manageable, my feelings toward Secret of Mana began to shift. Slowly but surely, I liked the strange radial menu system. Slowly but surely, the real-time combat's quirks began to grow on me. I liked the magic system I discovered. Being able to level up individual classes of magic was fun and rewarding. Sure, the magic was OP, but I could overlook that. Secret of Mana's combat is usually not one I enjoy. I much favor turn-based gameplay. So it got started on the wrong foot, perhaps. And even after warming up to the combat, I still can't say the execution was better than 70%. A lot of the stuff just didn't work. Your party consists of 3 members, 2 of which are AI controlled and have somewhat programmable behavior, but they have a nasty habit of getting stuck on corners and canceling your super powerful attack with a much weaker one. Or at least I think that's what was happening. I was never easy to tell when I was hitting the enemy and when they were invincible after already taking a hit. In order to do the most damage, you have to wait until the meter hits 100%, then press the attack button. to keep you from spamming your moves. It makes sense on paper, at least. But in practice, it's sort of not a good tactical RPG, and not a good action game either. What I'm trying to say is that sometimes Secret of Mana is a janky mess. But like I said, I warmed up to it. Once I got toward the end of the game, I felt like I knew all the game's tricks and all of its bullshit, and then, as if to reward me for that, the story suddenly got kind of interesting, and the music got kind of awesome. Where was all of this in the first 3 quarters of the game? I'm not sure I liked the confusing dungeon design, though. It's full of enemies that multiply, often faster than you can kill them. And if you're trying to run from these pesky fights, well, good luck to you. Your dumb AI teammates are going to get stuck on walls, they're going to get stuck on enemies, they're going to get hooked on phonics, and then enemies knock you down, put you to sleep, and set you on fire. Thankfully, by the time I played enough and got lost enough, I was usually over-leveled, which kept things from getting up my craw too far. I think Zoltan will have a sunnier disposition about this game, even after having just replayed it alongside me. I bet he loved how grindy this game gets. I bet he loved the later stage music. I mean, who wouldn't? And I bet he almost didn't quit playing this game about 2 hours in. I'm glad I stuck around, but oh boy, Secret of Mana, you came this close.
And welcome to the final segment of the 6th episode of Turn-Based Memories. This is where I, as the topic leader, subject discussion leader, will ask Mel a bunch of questions about his experience and also apologize to him profusely for assigning him bad games to play. So, I'm sorry, Mel. You gave me previously Shadow Hearts 2, which was amazing. I loved it to death. And I gave you What Do I Do in Return? Secret of Mana.
No, it's okay. I mean, these are games from a different era, and I think there's going to be more of a, I don't know, learning curve is the right term on my end of the situation, because the games are older, and inherently they're just not, there's going to be more of a time gap in terms of game design.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's some inherent in the system we have set up for ourselves.
Yeah. You're right. Well, they should just be getting better and better as we go. I mean, we're up to Secret of Mana now. I don't have any NES games left to give you, so that's good at least. And only a few more Super Nintendo games, and then we can finally move on to PlayStation stuff. I'm kind of going in order, and also I'm really intentionally giving you the most famous games. We actually haven't hit any of the games that I think are the greatest things ever.
Ooh.
Yeah. So I'm not giving you these games because I love them. I'm giving you them because they're famous and most people love them, and I liked them.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay, so I'd like to start off this section, actually, before I ask you any questions, with some Secret of Mana fun facts.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. Just some quick ones. Did you know multiplayer was not originally planned for the game?
No, I did not know.
Yeah, and the creators just realized one day, oh, we could probably make this for multiplayer easy, and they just threw it in there. How nice of them, huh? Another fun fact. I have like 6 of them. FF4, Secret of Mana, and Chrono Trigger were all in production at the same time.
I didn't know that, but I totally believe it, because game development back then was a totally different beast.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. And one interesting thing is that parts that didn't get used in, say, FF4 got used in Secret of Mana, and ideas that didn't get used in Secret of Mana got used in Chrono Trigger. That's interesting.
They do all seem to be, like, they do seem to share some DNA in terms of design. Like, I really do believe that. If someone were to just, like, make that assumption, I would say you're probably right.
I don't remember the name of the guy who who was the director of this game, but each one of those 3 games has a completely different like head guy involved.
Mm-hmm.
And also different musicians. Yeah, all different musicians too. Yeah, so that makes a difference too. And probably all different artists as well. I think so. Yeah, definitely all different artists. Yeah, so all of them are different.
Yeah, they are all different, but there is somewhat of like a design docket. Like they may have all shared notes somewhere along in development, especially Chrono Trigger and Secret of Mana. You can tell that one's more, turn-based and one's more action-y. They just kind of move some dials around in terms of the combat system.
Yeah. Okay, Secret of Mana was originally planned for the SNES CD add-on, but which means that they were planning to make this game way bigger, and the director said that he estimates we had to cut about 40% of the game to make it fit on a regular SNES cartridge.
Whoa.
Holy crap, right?
What did they cut? This game is actually kind of long.
They said that their original plan was to have multiple paths and therefore multiple endings, and they cut all those out.
Okay.
Interesting. This game was localized for English in 30 days by Ted Woolsey. Do you know who that is?
Ted Woolsey,
yeah.
Yes I do.
The guy who wrote the word Son of a Submariner and
Yes.
Spoony Bard.
Yes.
And I wonder if he did FF Tactics, because if he did, that means he made my favorite Final Fantasy line of all time, Blame Yourself or God. That's my favorite line ever. Love it.
I don't know. I think by then Ted Woolsey had moved on, but he did a ton of the work for early Square.
SNES for sure.
Yeah.
The characters do have names, default names, at least in the Japanese version. They are Randy, Prim, and Popoi.
Prim.
Yeah, the girl's name is Prim. Okay. The musician, Hiroki Kikuta, spent nearly 24 hours a day at his office in an attempt to make a score that is, quote, immersive and three-dimensional. Do you think he did it? He succeeded?
I think he definitely hit his stride toward the end of the game. I don't remember much of the music prior to, like, the third quarter.
Okay. I think he did. I think that the thing is, like, those songs aren't... They are immersive and they are three-dimensional, but they're not, like, catchy or fun to listen to on their own when you're not playing the game.
I guess not. Although, my one serious, I don't know if you agree, but my one serious critique in the music department is that boss music.
It's awesome, or you don't like it?
Don't like it.
I freaking love it, and a lot of people love it, actually.
Really? It's so ear-piercing. It's like, like, whoa.
I don't know. It's really, it's kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Virtuosic, I think is the right word. You know, it would be hard to play that on instruments, right?
Yeah, true.
I don't know. I really like it. And at least you had to like the main melody, the did you like that part?
In the opening, I think I only heard it a couple times, but toward the end when you're flying around, because it's not like the music I heard most of all was the running around the forest music, whatever that is, and I don't remember it honestly, but when I started flying around after the sunken continent is risen and everything turns dark, I was like, oh shit, I recognize this music. It got really good all of a sudden.
Oh, the dark flying around music is the music you like?
I don't know what it was called. Yeah, I've heard that covered several times, and I was like, whoa, I think I have this on the old MP3 from OC Remix somewhere.
Oh, cool. Okay, yeah, and last two. Hiroki Kikuta made his own samples instead of using the samples that are available on the SNES normally to make this game, which is why it sounds pretty unique, and it doesn't sound similar to anything else. And the Secret of Mana soundtrack is his favorite work that he's done.
Well, I'm glad he likes his own work.
Yeah, well, that's interesting to know to me, right? Like my favorite Final Fantasy soundtrack, or Nobuo Uematsu Final Fantasy soundtrack, is probably 6. Mm-hmm. But I think I'd have to check to be sure. I think that Nobuo Uematsu said that he enjoyed composing 9 the most, something like that. I'd have to look it up now.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Not very familiar with 9 in general, and I'm not sure that I've heard too much of its soundtrack outside of the game.
Okay, yeah. Anyway, let's make that little spoiler that I mentioned, the cliffhanger I mentioned at the end of the last episode. How this game is connected to freaking Shadow Hearts 2. Do you know what it is, Mel?
How is it connected to Shadow Hearts 2?
Do you remember? Do you remember the name of the company that developed Shadow Hearts Covenant?
Shadow Hearts Covenant, the company. Well, I'm blanking. I don't know. Tell me.
Nautilus.
Nautilus.
Yeah, it was Nautilus. Guess who started that company?
Who?
Freaking Hiroki Kikuta, the musician.
Oh.
Like, I never would have guessed that, right? And
I would not have guessed that in 1,000 years.
Yeah, and the first game they made was completely designed and was directed by Hiroki Kikuta, and that was Kudelka, I think it's pronounced Kudelka.
Kudelka.
For the PS1, and he was not happy at all with how it went, and he had a lot of struggles with him and the team about how the game design should be. And after that first game, he quit, and so in the end, Shadow Hearts 2 was made without Hiroki Kikuta, but interesting. All right. Shall we get down to the real Secret of Mana thing here?
Let's go for it.
Yeah, question number 2. Oh, sorry. Okay, question number 1, but whatever. Did you use a guide?
I had to resort to a guide a couple times mostly because I was on a time frame, but also I probably would have wanted to, like, knowing where to go in the desert. I'm not sure if that was just supposed to be trial and error or what. You
just wander around and then eventually you faint. Right?
I looked at it because I wandered around for a while and I was like, where am I going? So then I looked at a guy because I realized I was like just kind of going and going. And the guy was like, oh, up, left, down, right, or something. And then you'll find the town. The one before that, the environmental puzzle before that where you had to like figure out the seasons, you know what I'm talking about?
That was awesome, yeah.
That was cool. That one I figured out. But, and then there were a couple other things toward the end where I was just like, am I going the right way? Because once the world opens up, I was like, I don't know where to go.
Yeah, same with me. I mentioned that in my segment. Well, now what do I do?
Yeah. And they even like admit like, hey, what if I get lost up here? And he's like, well, there's a map and there's a compass and good luck.
Yeah, there's a map of the world which has no icons in it to show you what the names of any towns are or anything.
And it's this really distant map, and the map itself rotates, and I'm like, I don't know where I am anymore.
And it only rotates. You can rotate it left and right, and then you can actually just move it up and down. You can't just move it to the left or the right.
It's super, super confusing. I like that they let you change your camera angle when you're on Flammy? I don't know how you pronounce that.
You mean go up or down, or is there...
No, you can do like an overhead view at any time.
Oh,
the shoulder button.
Oh, I didn't know that, dude.
You know, when you go into land, it switches to an overhead view.
Yeah, you can get to that view anytime.
Anytime as high up as you're flying, you can always have an overhead view. That helped me a little bit.
Oh, that must have been a little bit more useful. A little bit more useful.
Because you can fly up really high and then look down and get like a really good like bead on where everything was. Eventually, I learned the map pretty well.
Oh,
but
good. You did better than I. I did not like flying on the dragon, and that was going to be in one question separately. What did you think of that? But you've already told me. All right.
Well, I mean, I think it was cool from a technical perspective in terms of like the Mode 7 and exactly how it was employing. I was like, this is a shit ton of Mode 7 right here.
Yeah, that was impressive, but
it was the sense of speed was really cool. I think I also appreciated that. It obviously, like we just said, you could easily get lost, but once I was one of the other time sinks with this game was just like knowing where to go and getting familiar with the map.
I agree. Okay. Next question. What would you like to change in the combat to make it go from 70% to 100%?
Okay. I think some of this may have been outside the scope of like technically what was possible. You know, let's just think theoretical.
Okay.
I want more feedback on when you are actually dealing damage. Because I gathered that you could hit something like multiple times, but the damage numbers wouldn't pop until like after, like there was a weird delay sometimes on when damage numbers would pop, and the feedback on when you were getting hit. Also, a lot of the enemy attacks were like they were instant, and you would get knocked back. And I think they had to rely. I would like the combat system to rely less on knocking things down or you getting knocked down, because that just slows it down. Like you're already waiting for your damn damage meter to hit 100%. You're already waiting for it. Like, why do I now have to wait for something to get back up and knock it down again?
Yeah, in your segment, you said that the game is not really a good tactical role-playing game, nor is it really a good action game. And when I thought about, is it really a bad action game? Like, yeah, I guess it is. Like, because you can't. One, you have to wait, and two, there's really nothing to do besides wait and whack, wait and whack, wait and whack, and there's not really any.
Sure.
Not much in the way of strategies. Like maybe, there's some guys that are strong against your sword and you have to use magic on them, but it doesn't really ever go beyond that. Not enough gimmicks, I guess.
Yeah, a handful of times I found myself having to switch to the whip because it had way more range, and to like hit stuff that was between a gap that I would come across later. I was like, well, before I do that and get myself in harm's way, let me just whip these guys and kill them. And so there were a couple instances where I was making that kind of strategic choice. And magic, because like you said in your segment, always hits whatever you're targeting. There's no way to dodge the enemies, or you cannot dodge magic. So leveling up magic is kind of a no-brainer. I assumed that you would like that part because it's like a grindy thing that I thought maybe you would be into, but I also think it was sort of like a kind of a drag, and also it gets OP like in a matter of seconds.
Seconds. Yeah, it does get pretty strong pretty quickly. I mean, I think in the desert I was doing like, I don't know, 150 damage or something with my ice spell. Let's just say it was 150. Leveled up one level, all of a sudden you're doing plus 25% damage, and you're doing 200 damage, or plus 33% damage, and so that's 200 suddenly. So that's a huge difference.
I mean, by the end, I was all healing my party for way more HP than any of them had, or like close to most HP. Like, I'm like, this is OP.
Yeah, that's cool. So you actually leveled up your magic pretty high.
I ended up doing that, I think, because I got lost, and I realized that was a mechanic, so I'm like, I better get some of this magic leveled up. A lot of it I didn't use. A lot of it I left the game, and the sprite, his magic levels were still level 1 on some categories.
Yeah, I did the same thing. I just used the ones that
did damage.
Yeah, just the ones that do damage. Yeah, I didn't even bother leveling
the
up
buffs.
Prim's. Yeah, I didn't bother leveling up Prim's magic except for the healing.
No, I couldn't even tell you what most of her magic was. I know there was one that removed status effects, which are basically 2 seconds, and the status effect is over.
Despite being only 2 seconds, though, they're pretty hardcore, wouldn't you say?
Especially the burning one locks you in place, burns you, and does like a decent chunk of damage.
Yeah, and also getting knocked unconscious. You're just laying there.
Yes. Yup.
Oh, okay. I have to put in a question that I forgot. Did you die at the very first boss?
Of course, a ton of times.
Multiple
times. A ton of times.
Do they revive you no matter how many times you die, or just the first time?
Yeah, they always revive you. I don't think they let you have a game over. And I was like, okay, what is this? What am I? Because I was totally like grappling, really struggling with the combat and the positioning. And like I understood the 100% like the stamina like right away, but I was like, where do I have to stand? Is there a way to block? I'm just constantly getting wailed on over here.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to figure out at the beginning.
You have like no resource. Like the thing that makes you potent or powerful in a battle is your magic. You have none of that in the first boss battle.
In the first boss battle, yeah. But you could do what I did. So when I first started playing a game this time through, I was having the time of my life, like having a pen and paper and like writing down, like seeing if I could kill a rabbite to exactly the right amount of HP that would kill them to figure out how much HP they have, and I think I figured it out, and it was like 40 or something. And then like I would go into like the menu and see, okay, how much experience did I get from that? Oh, okay, so if I kill just 10 rabbits, I'm gonna go up a level. I'll do that, and then blah 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 blah, and then look at. Yeah.
There is a spell that shows what their HP is, so.
Yeah, eventually you get it, but not in the beginning, right? So
yes.
Yeah. So I was doing that, and I was having a great time, and I leveled up to level 4 before I went to the town, and then.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and then I also knew ahead of time that the most important thing in this game is the equipment, and they had a bandana on sale at the shop in that first town. So I avoided talking to anybody else, went straight to the shop. They had a bandana, bought that. And every time that freaking boss shot his wind blade attack at me, I would just be like, bing, deflected. So it was no problem.
Yeah. Money for me was really tight in the beginning, and I didn't realize, first of all, the game doesn't tell you what the items do. I assume the manual would have told you what the items do. Like, I didn't know what a cup of wishes did.
Did it not say?
Do?
Oh, crap. It didn't say, did it?
It doesn't ever tell you. But it would have been in the manual. Like, people would have looked in the manual. So I didn't count it too harshly. Like, I was like, I'm
if it's
not
in a
playing
manual,
the
it's
game.
okay, right?
Manual, right. Because that's how the game was meant to be played, and that's how people would have played it.
Yeah.
But in the actual game itself, it never says. I was like, all right, couple wishes. What does that mean? All right, it's probably a resurrection.
You're right.
Candy? I was like, what the hell does candy do? I had no...
HP, yo.
Yeah, HP. I figured a lot of it out. I didn't realize what barrels did until the very end.
Yeah, you could just like walk through an area, right?
Yep.
It's awesome.
Yeah, I never knew what that was.
I didn't use it this time through, though. I decided to just attack everything.
Yeah, it's probably for the best. I mean, toward the end, money became no object, but like I was saying earlier, up front, like I didn't know that the cat vendor sold things for higher than some of the town vendors. Yeah, double. And I was like, man, this shit's expensive. If I die, it's going to cost me $300. I only got a couple hundred. And the sprite, especially when I first got him, was just dying left and right because he comes in at level 1.
Yeah.
Ugh. And I was like, I need him to get experience or nothing's going to happen. It was tough going at the start of the gate. And I think the game genuinely is harder in the beginning. Plus,
think so too.
I wasn't sure what I was doing, and I was like, this is like getting close. I don't know if I can finish this game.
Anytime you stop having fun, you can quit, and I won't be annoyed. Because I'll tell you, I didn't play all the way to the end, and it wasn't because like I thought, I know the game well enough. I'll just stop here. It was because I got tired of it. Actually, you heard my segment, right?
Yes, I did. And it's interesting because we had sort of the opposite. To a point, we had sort of the opposite impression. Like, it seems like you were having a lot more fun in the beginning, and then toward the end, you're like, this is dragging on.
Yeah.
For me, it was like, this game's a fucking chore when I started playing it. And then little by little, I started to understand what the game was trying to do, including the menus. Like, the menus were really cryptic in the beginning, because I didn't know you could press up and down to get to other menu, like parts of the menu.
Yeah.
I was like, where the hell are my swords?
Yeah.
Where is any of it? Like, what does any of this mean? What is this, like, action grid? What does it do?
Did you figure out
I figured out pretty much everything, and I looked through a guide toward the end to make sure I wasn't missing, and I realized, no, I figured it all out. But also, I didn't know you could charge your weapons up for a while.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah, that's a big deal. I mean, that's actually not that big a deal because magic
it's not as useful as you think. Well, even without magic, it's like it's faster. Maybe like charge up to the first level or maybe the second level, but you might as well just hit once, wait, and then hit them again, and boom, you did double damage in less time than it takes to charge up to level 8.
Exactly. Yeah, and my like the whole AI control system, I was like, I think I know what it's trying to tell me, but it doesn't seem to always follow those instructions. And there was like a targeting mode that I never touched. I don't know what that was.
Yeah, I didn't use that either.
So it seemed like a weird thing. But
I set my characters just the approach, most aggressive setting, just full approach, full attack.
Oh, really?
But then no charging up, just regular attacks. That's what I did.
Okay, yeah. Okay. I guess it works. You can muddle your way through this game, I think, for the most part. Like, it's not that hard once you get the ball rolling.
Yeah, I agree. And you'll realize. Okay, so there's a point that you mentioned that I don't want to forget about the shopping. You said you were pretty tight on money, and I thought that was awesome because my favorite reason to grind, aside from leveling up, is there's all this awesome stuff I could buy if I had more money. And but in the case of Secret of Mana, especially the later you get in the game, basically you don't have the newest equipment, you cannot proceed.
Yeah, it does make significant, like doubles your defense, I guess is what that number is that it's indicating when you go to put the new thing on.
Yeah, it's always a huge jump, and you always take a lot less damage when you have that that jump in the defense, and it helps your attack. Oh no, I'm sorry, attack you don't buy things, you just use the weapon orbs. So let's mention that. What did you think of the exploration? Because the orbs, the weapon orbs, kind of rewards exploration, doesn't it? Again, that was a thing that I thought was obnoxious at first. I was like, what are all these orbs? And then I realized what they were for, and as I kind of got more of them, I thought I was only going to get like one. I didn't know what the systems coming down the road were. Okay, yeah,
and
that's
as
right.
I got more and more, I was like, oh, this is nice. Like, and they changed the model of the weapon too. They put that extra detail in.
They did.
I thought that was cool. Like, there were a ton of weapons I never used, but like, what weapons did you use?
I like to have, since there are 8 weapons, I like to have 2 of the characters use 3 and one of them use 2. So I used all of them. But my favorite ones are the sword, the whip, and the bow and arrow, I think. But not because the bow and arrow is useful. If you're going to use a projectile weapon, you might as well just use the boomerang one, because it goes through one enemy and hits the next enemy behind it as well, right? Where the bow and arrow,
I never used the boomerang.
Yeah, where the bow and arrow just goes to the first enemy it touches, and then just that enemy gets hit, right? And then you can do the same thing with the whip. You can hit 5 guys. Well, there are only like 3 guys on the screen at a time, but you can hit all the guys at once with a whip if you want.
Is that true? There can only be 3 enemies on the screen at a time?
I don't know if there can only be, but usually there's only 3.
Oh, okay. I was wondering if I just never noticed that.
Well, if you fight those like multiplying slime enemies, they never multiply past 3.
That's true, but still. Fuck those guys.
Yeah, those guys. You made a good point in your segment. Like, like those guys can multiply faster than you can kill them if you're like just don't know exactly what to do.
Yeah, and then some of the enemies are like flying, and it's never quite clear where you have to stand to hit them if you're using melee, in which case just use magic, but still, like...
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are lots of little quirks that you have to figure out as the game goes by, and I guess I took it for granted that, like, I didn't even think that about the possibility that, I wouldn't know what to do with the orbs, because, I don't know, I guess I forgot about when the first time I played the game.
Yeah. I didn't know what any of the normal items did. I didn't know what a fairy walnut did.
Yeah.
I didn't know what the candy or the chocolate did. But I figured out what I think all of the items do. Also, I didn't know how to I didn't even know it was possible to access your other character's inventory with the other, with
the X
or
button.
Y or whatever.
No, with the X button,
and then you have to hit the same button to cycle through the other
guy.
2.
Yeah.
I was like, what? Like, I thought it was just one. I was like, how do you get the other one? It's never made clear if you don't have a manual.
Did you push the select to change your character ever?
I did. That one I figured out, but I think I did by accident.
When I talk about like this, it sounds like good fun, to be honest. But I don't know. When I sit down and play it, I'm having fun. Oh, the grind's gone. I just got to go shopping, and then I'm done with grinding. I don't like it. That said, I played like so close to the end. Like, so you said that you were really glad that you stuck around to the end. Are you really?
So I think I was... I must have gotten sidetracked. So, like, what I was saying before was we had, like, the opposite. Like, you liked it more in the beginning, and I liked it more toward the end, with the exception that the final dungeon is a fucking drag.
It is, because I was just
really long drag.
I don't know. Okay. So I was thinking that, I would love, like, the final dungeon again, because, like, once you meet the mana tree upgrades all your weapons gives you all 8 orbs for every weapon in case you didn't find some of them. And then
I didn't I ever noticed that
Yeah, I didn't.
somehow.
I didn't actually get to the Mana Tree this playthrough. I stopped like right before the Mana Tree. So,
Okay.
is that around the time when the game gets awesome to you? When the story gets good to you?
I think that was because that's when also the story kind of got into like it's still a Super Nintendo story, but it's like I wasn't interested in who anyone was up until that point. I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. His father was this guy, his mother is the Mana Tree, and
Oh yeah, that was
this,
interesting. Yeah, that's right.
all this other stuff, and I started to like wonder more about like, who are these villains? What are they trying to do? All right, there's a mana beast that is trying to save the world, but it's ultimately destroying it, and you have to like intercede and stop that from happening. Sort of. That's interesting. It's not like totally run of the mill.
You're right.
So I don't think I noticed that the mana tree gives you all 8 of the orbs, though.
Maybe they didn't say it or anything, but if you were to go into your menu, I just read online that everybody was like, if you missed an orb, you'll get them all anyway once you get to the end. So, and so I was thinking that maybe it'd be worth it for me to just go ahead, like just work my way through whatever little part I have left before getting to the final dungeon, because that is in theory the one time where after the beginning of the game where you can finally grind again, because you've already got the best equipment once you go shopping. You've already got all your maxed out weapons, and all that's left are your levels. And that sounded, when I think about it, it sounds kind of awesome. So I ask you, do you think it's worth it for me to go play the final dungeon?
I think by that point in the game, it like the purpose for getting more powerful actually goes away, because the only reason you're getting more powerful earlier on is you're going to buy equipment, which you have the best version, like the armor, you have the best version of it by that point, so you don't need money. Yeah. And by the time you hit like a level 50 or so, you're more than powerful enough to destroy the final boss. So, I mean, not destroy, like you're not going to level him, but you're gonna. But you can beat him. You can beat the game, and you really don't need to be any higher. And also, by working through the final like 2 dungeons that they throw at you before, after you hit the mana tree, right? It might even be 3. You're gonna be like level almost 60. So just naturally walking through. I forget what level I was at, but by the time I hit level 50, I think I remember like skimming a guide and going like, "You're level 50. You're fine from now on." I was like, okay, cool. So then I started playing the game, and then just naturally through working my way through the Mana Fortress, I think I got to like level 55, level 56, 7, I forget. But yeah, I think it might not be that interesting by that point for you if you're interested in like the grind, because it's more just like pushing through at that point.
Okay. Yeah.
You could probably get what you need out of it by watching the video.
Oh, that guy's grind felt good for me. Something like
just like remembering what it was and where he's going.
Yeah, just remembering, really. Yeah, I guess that's all it would be. Yeah, I'm ashamed to say that I actually did quit the game without going all the way through this time.
That's okay. It wasn't your segment anyway. It was my assignment. So
that's true.
At least the one of us finished it is the important one. It was me.
Yeah.
But,
okay, that's about it from me. Otherwise, is the final dungeon music really that awesome? I don't remember it.
No, not the final dungeon music. It was the overworld music that I talked about before.
Oh, that?
I think that's what I meant. Or maybe I said dungeon in my segment.
No, you didn't. Well, you just said. I thought you said the final dungeon music was good in your segment. Okay, yeah, that's funny that you liked the music during that part. I remember the music from after the world is all like dark or whatever, and you're riding on the dragon. Because and I remember it being pretty cool, but there are lots of RPGs. I don't know if lots, but there are several that come to mind where somewhere near the end or even the very end of the game, like the world is just a less pleasant, less beautiful place than it was in the beginning. And I really do not like that, because at the end of the game is the time when I want to wander around the world, find whatever things I didn't do, and I want it to be pretty. So if I can beat the final boss and that makes the world pretty again and then go do all this stuff, I'm fine with that. But like, there are several games that do that where it's like There's nothing else after you beat the game. And from this certain point until you beat the game, the world's darker.
The world is like a apocalypse hellscape. Yeah, I think that's fair. That's definitely a style choice. I like that kind of atmosphere, that kind of dark and broody stuff. That kind of resonates more with me, I guess.
Really.
So that kind of like ominous soundtrack that kicks in toward the end, I was like, ooh, this is getting interesting. Okay. So that resonated more with me. I guess it's just like a taste.
Well, no spoilers, but I look forward to assigning you Final Fantasy VI in the near future.
I think I know something about the plot of that game.
Okay, that's okay. Let's not bring it up here. We don't want to spoil FF6 on a Secret of Mana podcast.
Okay.
Okay. Last thing I want to ask you. We've played so far Super Mario RPG, Dragon Quest 1, or Dragon Warrior, Final Fantasy 4, Shadow Hearts 2, and Secret of Mana. Rank them.
Oh, Jesus.
Start from the bottom. What's the worst one? Start from the bottom. What's the worst one?
The worst one out of those? Oh, man. I guess
Mana,
that's
right?
a tough... No. It would have to be Dragon Warrior 1. Just because by simplicity and what it's bringing to the table. Then I would put Secret of Mana. Then I would put
FF4
Shadow
or Super
Hearts.
Mario?
Oh, no. FF...
You'd put Shadow Hearts
Where
below?
should FF4 go? I don't know where FF4 should go necessarily, but just like as a quick list, it would go Dragon Warrior at the bottom, then Secret of Mana, then FF4, then Shadow Hearts, and then Mario RPG. That's my listing.
What? You like Super Mario RPG more than Shadow Hearts 2, huh?
It's got a special place in my heart. That's the only reason why.
Okay, but, well, see, now that's an interesting thing you just said. Why does it have a special place in your heart? And I don't, why?
Because it was my first one that I ever got into.
Okay, that makes sense.
First role-playing game. I mean, I have nostalgia all over the place for that game.
Okay, but the game... I'm not trying to make you say, like, no, you can't have that be better than Shadow Hearts. I just...
if you want me to approach it more objectively...
That's what I'm saying. Well, is there a way that it could have...
I can give you more arguments for Shadow Hearts on a technical level and on terms of what it is bringing to the table than I can for Super Mario RPG. I think it's fair, even in my own opinion, to say that or admit that or whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
But so if I were to be a little more less like passionate or whatever about it, I would put Shadow Hearts at the top out of all of these because I think it's executing and on its systems way more successfully than any of the games on this list so far.
But if you could choose just one of them to play, you'd rather play Super Mario RPG?
I think I would if I were just to play over again, but Shadow Hearts are really good.
Okay. Well, what?
Really good.
What? Is there any reason for Super Mario RPG to have a special place in your heart that is unrelated to nostalgia?
I think it's definitely a really good combat system in terms of being turn-based and making something more active without getting in the way, like stumbling over itself. Like I think Secret of Mana kind of trips over its own feet by trying to have this action component to what is essentially a role-playing game, and it kind of gets in its own way sometimes, and Super Mario RPG never gets in its own way like that, I don't think.
I see. Okay. In my case, I think I would go... I'm having a really hard time. Obviously, number one for me is Shadow Hearts Covenant, but...
Okay.
Then I prefer Dragon Quest 1. Then I...
That's number 2?
Yeah, I like it more than Super Mario RPG.
Oh, wow. Such a simple game, huh?
It is,
and you like it more? Okay.
It is, but I think the reason I like it, and you'll be happy to know it's not nostalgia because I didn't play it until like a couple of years ago, like 1 year ago or something. I think the thing it does that I like is it has what's the word I'm looking for?
Purity. It's like simple.
No, not simplicity or purity. What's the word where it feels like you're in the character and in the game yourself?
I mean, role-playing.
Yeah, it has role-playing, and therefore the game is... not engrossing. There's another word. It's not engrossing. having music transition and screen transitions every time you have a random battle breaks the immersion.
Yes. There you go.
And so I kind of do feel like I'm the dude, and I'm walking around, and I'm fighting stuff, and I'm going to save the princess, kill a dragon. They do a really good job of that. Plus, I cannot get over how sweet the if you can call them puzzles, like, a guy somewhere says, dude, I hear that there's a secret passage behind the throne in Charlotte Castle, and you have to remember that and go there. You take the windy-ass staircase, go all the way through it, come back up just another staircase, and you're like, now where do I go? Oh, right, I need to look behind the throne, and that's the way to the final boss. That is amazing to me. So that's what I want. I like puzzles in games.
I get it. I got you.
And then I'm really torn between Mario RPG or Secret of Mana as which one is the one I like the least, though. This time playing through Secret of Mana, I didn't like it too much. Not as much as I hoped I would. So I think I'd put Secret of Mana number 4 in. Mario RPG as number 4 and Secret of Mana last. To my own surprise.
Interesting.
Yeah, I would put FF4 as number 3, I think. I think I like it more than Super Mario RPG, just because there's still lots that I don't know about it, and there's some challenge left to do. And there are multiple versions that we could play besides the original one.
Sure, yeah. I think I feel the most indifferent about FF4 out of all these games. I think it's competent, and I just think it's sort of, even though Dragon Warrior is maybe the most boilerplate, to kind of use a derogatory term that I don't mean to. I like that game. I think FF4 hits the middle road mark out of the games that we played the most. But, that list is going to expand soon.
I hope so, yeah. It's not the final episode?
Nope.
Okay, glad to hear that. Yeah, so that's about it for me. Anything else you want to say about Secret of Mana?
I think we covered it.
Okay, then it's time for you to tell us what the next game is going to be.
Okay, so the next game on our list, I believe, is going to be the first one from the GameCube.
Yes.
It is Tri Crescendo?
I believe so,
yes?
Yeah. I believe
yes,
so.
not Tri Ace. Tri Crescendo's
Yes.
Baten Kaitos 2.
Yeah. Baten Kaitos Origins is called, right?
Origins, that's right. I think it's called 2. You said it was called 2 in Japan, right?
No, that was when we were talking about Shadow Hearts.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yes. Baten Kaitos Origins, it is a prequel. It is not a sequel.
So
that's why it's called Origins. Yes.
That makes sense.
And yeah, that's going to be interesting. I have not touched this game in a while. I will be replaying it on my copy on the GameCube because I would not have any real thing to say from memory of it. But in the back of my mind, I have things that I know, like preconceived memories that I know, like I think this and that about the game, whatever. We both had played the first Baten Kaitos, correct?
Yes, and I freaking loved that game.
Okay, I liked it too. I realize it's really flawed, though. I would not go to bat for it, up and down. There are flaws in that game for sure.
Well, I can't remember it well enough to know what the flaws were. Nothing particularly stood out to me at the time.
Well, we'll definitely have a lot to go over, I think. There were things when I played that at the time that I was like, woof, this game. But Origins is a different game, and I'm really looking forward to the differences between those two games and how my memory of it stacks up, because it has truly been a while, and it's kind of an old game now.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to it.
Yep. I have to go buy I forgot that I need to buy a GameCube controller to play GameCube games on the Wii, so I got to go do that later.
Can you not use a classic controller?
Can you? I don't.
Ooh, question mark? I don't know.
I thought to use the original because it plays GameCube games with original GameCube hardware inside the machine, right?
Essentially.
And it has controller ports, so I think
I think you're right. I think because it boots into GameCube mode. I think you're right. You do need a GameCube controller.
And I probably need a GameCube memory card also, huh?
Oh yes, you do. Boo boo.
That's okay.
Good luck. I hope you can find those.
What? Are they rare?
I don't know. I hadn't even thought of that. Like,
Okay.
are they?
They're probably not rare in Japan, so it shouldn't be a problem.
Okay, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
But
I like Japan.
are they region locked? Are you not?
The
using
memory
a
card
US?
wouldn't be region locked, would it?
It's a Nintendo. I would not be shocked.
Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and buy one, and I'll let you know.
The Japanese megabytes, they're different from the US megabytes.
Okay, that'll do it. I cannot wait to start playing that game, and I hope that you guys, the listeners, will be looking forward to that as well. Baten Kaitos Origins. That will be episode 7. That brings this episode to a close. If you want to know when the next episode is coming out, you should subscribe. We're releasing episodes basically monthly. We've been keeping to that schedule pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
It's the end of April now when we're recording this, and we'll see how quickly I can edit it and put it up. And that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you very much for coming here.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.